All right, let's talk about Web3. You've definitely seen this term popping up everywhere, right? Some people are calling it the future of everything, while others are just shrugging it off as a bunch of hype. So what's the real story? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise and figure out what this next generation of the internet is all about.
I mean, we all know Web 2. We live and breathe it every day. It's the internet of social media, of YouTube, of us creating and sharing content. But the internet is always evolving. So the huge question we're tackling today is, what exactly is this next step? And why are so many people convinced it's a total game changer for our digital lives?
So here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with a super quick history lesson. Then we'll dive into the big promise of Web3, which is all about ownership. After that, it's time for a reality check. We'll look at the risks and the hurdles. Then we'll check out where Web3 is actually being used today. And finally, we'll look at the two very different directions this whole thing could go.
To really get a grip on where we're going, you gotta understand where we've been. See, the internet wasn't just born this way. It's gone through some really distinct phases, and each one has kind of laid the groundwork for the next.
This right here breaks it down perfectly. First, you had Web 1. This was the read-only web. Think of it like a giant static digital library where you could look stuff up but not really interact. Then came Web 2, the read-write web we're on right now. We're the ones creating the content for Facebook, TikTok, you name it. And now, Web 3 is proposing the next big leap, read, write, own. The whole idea is to shift us from just being users to becoming actual owners of our data and our digital stuff. And that word, ownership, that's everything. It is the absolute heart of the Web3 vision. The dream is to wrestle power away from the big tech giants and put it back into the hands of, well, you and me. But how in the world is that supposed to work?
It all boils down to this one word: decentralization. Think about it. Right now, all your photos, your posts, your data, it all lives on some server owned by a company like Google or Meta. A decentralized web flips that on its head. It spreads control across a huge network of computers. So instead of one company holding all the keys, it's like 1,000 people all have a verified copy of the records. No single person is in charge.
And the engine that makes all this possible, that's the blockchain. The simplest way to think about it is like a digital receipt book that's shared with everybody in the network. And once a transaction gets added, it's locked into the one before it with some serious cryptography, creating a chain. It's nearly impossible to go back and change anything, which creates trust without needing a big bank or a tech company in the middle. So when you put all these pieces together, you get this really powerful vision. You get to actually own your data. Security gets a major boost thanks to all that crypto magic. And maybe the wildest part is that the system is trustless. Now, that doesn't mean it's sketchy. It means you don't have to trust a person or a company. You just trust the code. These things called smart contracts automatically handle transactions, cutting out the middleman completely. Okay, so that's the dream, right? A user-owned paradise. But let's pump the brakes for a second. Web3 is, well, it's a long way from perfect. It's still super new, and it's facing some massive skepticism and some very, very real problems. It's time to look at the gap between the hype and what's actually happening on the ground.
This comment from a Reddit user just absolutely nails the core criticism. After all these years and literally billions of dollars poured into it, the big question mark is still hanging there. What is this actually for? Is this a truly revolutionary technology, or is it just a really complicated solution looking for a problem to solve?
And listen, the risks are not just theoretical. This space can be like the Wild West. Just look at this number: over $12 million. That's how much money was stolen in Web3 phishing scams in just 1 month. It's a brutal reminder that with more control comes way more responsibility. There are hardly any safety nets if you mess up.
And beyond the scams, there are these huge technical mountains to climb. Scalability is a big one. Blockchains like Ethereum can feel incredibly slow, processing maybe 12 transactions a second. For perspective, Visa handles around 1,700. Then there are the infamous gas fees, the costs to make a transaction, which can be so high they just don't make sense for small stuff. Plus, let's be honest, using this stuff can be super complicated if you're not a tech whiz, and governments are still trying to figure out what the rules should even be. So, with all that doom and gloom, you might be thinking, is anything actually working? And the answer is, yeah, for sure. Despite all the challenges, there are pockets where Web3 is already being used and giving us a real glimpse of what it could do.
Decentralized finance, or DeFi, is probably the biggest one so far. You've got platforms that let you trade or lend money without ever touching a bank. We're also seeing these things called DAOs, which are like online communities that vote on decisions together. But it's spreading out. People are using it to track products on a supply chain, to let gamers actually own their swords and skins as NFTs, and even to help verify carbon credits for sustainability projects.
And some of the uses are getting really creative and, frankly, pretty cool. For example, people are looking into how Web3 can create what they're calling nature markets. The idea is to use the blockchain to fund and prove that conservation work is actually getting done. It just goes to show you that this technology could end up in some really unexpected and positive places.
So where does this all leave us? What's the end game? Well, the future of Web3 isn't set in stone. It's not one single destination. In fact, it's more like a fork in the road, and the same exact technology could lead us down two totally different paths.
And this is the real conflict at the heart of it all. On one hand, you have that original decentralized dream, an open internet owned by its users. But on the other hand, the very same tools could be used for the exact opposite, for total centralized control. The same blockchain tech that promises freedom can also be used to build incredibly powerful surveillance systems like China's national blockchain network. It's the ultimate proof that technology is just a tool. Its impact is all about who's using it and why.
And that brings us right back to the million-dollar question. Is Web3 really going to deliver this new user-owned internet? Or is it a fascinating but ultimately overhyped solution that's still searching for a real problem to solve? Honestly, the story is still being written. The final outcome is going to depend on the people building it, the people using it, and the choices we all make along the way. So I'm curious, what do you think? What's the most exciting or maybe the most worrying part of this future to you? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments.